Racist officer stops black man, then learns he's the head of internal affair. You think you're above the law? Wait till I find out who you really are, the officer sneered, unaware that the man standing before him was the law itself. It was a quiet evening in downtown Chicago. The streets glistened under the orange hue of streetlights as a sleek, black sedan rolled smoothly through the avenue. Inside sat Marcus Reed, dressed in a crisp navy suit, calm and composed, humming softly to the rhythm of a jazz tune on the radio. He was on his way home from a late meeting at the Department of Internal Affairs where he served as director. As he turned onto Jefferson Avenue, flashing blue and red lights suddenly filled his rearview mirror. Marcus frowned. He hadn't been speeding. He hadn't violated any signal. Still, the sirens wailed louder. With a sigh, he pulled over to the side of the road. The officer approached fast, flashlight in hand, face already hardened with suspicion. "License and registration," he barked before even reaching the window. Marcus lowered it halfway and replied politely, "Good evening, officer. May I ask why I'm being stopped?" The man's jaw clenched. "Don't play smart with me. Step out of the vehicle." Marcus stayed composed. "Sir, I'd prefer to know the reason first. Have I done something wrong?" The officer leaned closer, his breath heavy with irritation. "I said step out of the car, now!" A few nearby pedestrians began watching. Marcus could feel their eyes the mix of curiosity and discomfort. He'd seen this scene play out many times, but always from the reports on his desk, never as the target himself. He slowly stepped out. The air was cool but tense. The officer's hand hovered near his holster as he circled Marcus, eyeing his tailored suit and luxury car. "Pretty nice ride," the cop muttered. "You steal it?" Marcus blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," the officer smirked. "Men dressed like you don't usually drive cars like this unless they're up to something." Marcus inhaled deeply. "I assure you, officer, this vehicle is registered in my name." But the cop didn't care. He grabbed Marcus's wrist and spun him toward the car, pressing his hand roughly against the cool metal. "Hands where I can see 'em! Don't move!" Marcus didn't resist. "Officer, I think you're making a big mistake." "Oh, yeah? And who are you to tell me that? Some big-shot lawyer?" There was silence for a beat. Marcus looked over his shoulder, his calm tone unwavering. "No," he said quietly. "Something like that." The officer began searching the car without permission, tossing papers onto the sidewalk. He found a briefcase, snapped it open, and froze. Inside lay an official badge, engraved with gold lettering. Marcus J. Reed, Director, Internal Affairs Division. The officer's face drained of color. His eyes darted from the badge to Marcus, realization hitting him like a brick. Marcus turned slowly, his voice low but firm. "Now, do I look like someone who stole a car?" The street had gone silent. Even the radio static seemed to fade. The officer stammered, I didn't know, sir. It's just routine check." Marcus stepped closer, eyes locked on his. "Routine?" he repeated softly. "Or racial profiling?" The officer's throat tightened. The power dynamic had flipped in an instant. Marcus didn't raise his voice, but every word carried the weight of authority. "You just detained the head of the department that investigates officers like you." The officer swallowed hard, his earlier arrogance melting into fear. Marcus looked down at his own reflection in the cruiser's window and sighed. I deal with men like you every day, he said quietly. But tonight I got to meet one in person. For a long second, silence hung thick between them. The officer's flashlight trembled slightly in his grip, its beam flickering across the gold badge that gleamed under the streetlight, like a mirror reflecting his shame. "Director Reed," he stammered, his tone shifting from arrogance to desperation. "Sir, I swear I didn't mean—" Marcus cut him off, his voice calm but icy. "Didn't mean to what? Humiliate me? Accuse me of stealing my own car? Or make a decision based on the color of my skin?" The officer's lips parted, but no words came. His excuses died before they could escape. "You said it was routine," Marcus continued, taking a slow step closer. "Let's see if that's true." He gestured toward the patrol car. "Turn on your dash cam. Let's review the footage together. I want to see how many times you pulled over drivers tonight, and how many of them looked like me." The officer swallowed hard. "Sir, please, I can explain." Marcus tilted his head. "You'll get your chance. 2, tomorrow. In front of the Internal Affairs Review Board." The color drained from the man's face. You're not serious." "Oh, I'm very serious," Marcus replied, adjusting his cufflinks. "Because this, right here, this is exactly what I investigate every single day. Officers who think their badge gives them power to disrespect, to discriminate, to destroy someone's dignity just because they can." The officer's breath hitched. "Sir, I've got a family. I can't lose my job." Marcus's gaze softened just a little. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before letting Prejudice wear your uniform." Another cruiser pulled up. A second officer stepped out. Younger, nervous. "Everything all right, Sarge?" Marcus turned to him. "Not yet, but it will be." The younger cop recognized the badge immediately and froze. "Oh my God. Director Reed?" Marcus nodded. "You know me." "Yes, sir. We had that training last year. About ethics, racial sensitivity, and use of force. You gave the seminar." Marcus let that hang for a moment. The irony was almost cruel. He looked back at the older officer. "So you attended my session, and yet, here we are again." The older man dropped his gaze. "Sir, I just thought—" "You looked suspicious." Marcus's voice broke the quiet like thunder. "Suspicious? For driving a car that's cleaner than your conscience?" The young officer tried to diffuse the tension. "Sir, maybe we can handle this calmly." Marcus raised a hand gently. "I am calm, but the problem is, your department isn't." He turned toward his car, collected his papers from the ground one by one, and placed them neatly back inside the briefcase. Every movement was deliberate, controlled, yet heavy with disappointment. Then he paused at the driver's door. "You know," he said softly, not looking back, "my father was a police officer too. Spent 30 years serving this city with pride. He used to tell me something before every shift." The officer looked up, confused. "What's that?" Marcus met his eyes. He said, "Son, when you wear that badge, remember, it's not a weapon. It's a promise." The street went quiet again. The young officer lowered his head in shame. The older one blinked rapidly, his jaw trembling. Marcus opened his car door, but before stepping inside, he turned one last time. "I'll see you in the morning," he said. "At headquarters. Bring your badge." And just like that, he drove off. Headlights slicing through the darkness, leaving the officer standing in the cold glow of his own regret. As the sound of the car faded, The younger cop whispered. "What are you going to do, Sarge?" The older officer sighed shakily, staring at his reflection in the cruiser window. Morning light poured through the tall glass windows of the Internal Affairs Division. Inside the conference room, silence reigned. Every officer present knew what was coming. The department had already heard whispers. A patrol cop detained the director himself. At the head of the long table sat Marcus Reed, posture straight, expression unreadable. Files were stacked before him, and a recording from a dashcam played on the large monitor. On screen, the scene unfolded. The flashing lights, the arrogance, the rough handling, every humiliating word. The room grew still. Marcus paused the video. "Officer Grant," he said quietly, looking up. "Is this your voice?" Across the table, the same officer from last night, Officer Daniel Grant, sat rigid, hands clasped, sweat glistening on his forehead. "Yes, sir." Marcus leaned forward, tone steady but cutting. "Did you have probable cause for that stop?" Grant hesitated. No, sir." "Did I show resistance?" "No, sir." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "Then tell me, why did you order me out of the vehicle? Why did you accuse me of stealing my own car?" Grant's throat tightened. "Because you looked out of place." "Out of place," Marcus repeated slowly, almost whispering the words as if tasting their bitterness. "Out of place for driving a decent car, wearing a suit, existing in the wrong neighborhood?" The officer said nothing. Marcus stood, pacing slowly around the room. "I've read hundreds of reports like this. I've seen names on paper, victims, suspects, officers. But last night, for the first time, I felt what they felt." He stopped behind Grant's chair. Humiliation, anger, helplessness, and worst of all, disappointment in a system. "I've spent my life defending." Grant's eyes welled up. "Sir, I've served 18 years. I never meant for it to go that far. It was a mistake." Marcus walked back to his seat, his tone colder now. "A mistake happens once. Bias happens every day." He looked toward the others in the room. Lieutenants, captains, silent observers who suddenly avoided eye contact. "This department doesn't fall apart because of criminals," Marcus said. "It falls apart because of cowards who wear the uniform for power, not purpose." The words struck like a hammer. He picked up Grant's badge from the table and turned it over in his hand. "You'll face suspension pending review," Marcus said finally. "You'll also attend mandatory ethics retraining every week, led by me. You'll stand before recruits and tell them exactly what happens when prejudice drives judgment." Grant nodded weakly, voice trembling. "Yes, sir." Marcus stared at him a long moment, then softened just slightly. "If you truly want to serve this badge again, prove that you can see beyond skin color." Grant's eyes filled with tears. "I will, sir. I swear I will." Marcus turned off the recording and stood. Meeting adjourned, but as he walked out, one of the younger officers whispered under his breath, "He deserved worse." Marcus stopped at the door, turned slightly, and said, "Maybe, but justice isn't revenge. It's responsibility." He left the room, calm, composed, but heavy-hearted. Weeks passed. Chicago's winter crept in, and with it, the chill of reflection. Officer Grant had been demoted to desk duty. Every day, he walked past the same streets where he once made snap judgments. But now, he saw things differently. He noticed faces he used to ignore, stories he never cared to understand. One evening, as he left the precinct, he saw a small commotion near the subway. A teenage boy, black, maybe 16, was being harassed by two men. Grant didn't hesitate. He rushed forward, intervening, his voice steady and firm. "Hey, back off! He's with me." The men scattered. The boy looked up, scared but safe. "You okay?" Grant asked. The boy nodded. "They said I didn't belong here." Grant froze at the words. The same words he once thought himself. He swallowed hard and said softly, "They were wrong. You do." The boy smiled faintly. "Thanks, officer." Grant just nodded, then walked away. But inside, something shifted. For the first time, he didn't feel like a cop trying to look strong. He felt like a man trying to do right. A few days later, Marcus sat in his office reviewing reports when a knock echoed. "Come in," he said. Officer Grant stepped in, holding a small envelope. "Sir, I wanted to thank you." Marcus looked up. "For what?" "For not ruining my career when you could have." "You gave me a chance to be better." Marcus studied him silently, then gestured to the chair. "Sit." Grant handed him the envelope. Inside was a photo. The teenage boy from the subway, smiling with a backpack, standing next to Grant. "I helped him get a job at the youth center," Grant said. "Figured that's a better way to spend my evenings than pulling people over." Marcus looked at the picture for a long moment, then smiled faintly. "Maybe you finally found what that badge really means." Grant nodded, eyes glassy. "A promise, right?" Marcus stood and extended his hand. "That's right." The two men shook hands. No anger, no pride, just quiet respect. As Grant turned to leave, Marcus called after him softly, "Officer Grant, welcome back to the law." Grant smiled. "Thank you, sir." When the door closed, Marcus looked out the window at the city below. Sirens in the distance, life moving on. He whispered to himself, "One less enemy, one more officer who finally understands." And as the nightlights of Chicago flickered across the skyline, the message was clear. Justice isn't about punishment. It's about change. A story of prejudice, power, and redemption, where justice met humility, and a badge regained its meaning. Justice can change hearts, not just lives. Comment your opinion and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this.